When you're preparing to get divorced and you're thinking about that all but done plan, like, okay, once I press go on this divorce, what happens next? More than likely, if you're anything like me, you're going to be thinking about where are me and the kids going to sleep? Like, where are we going to live? That's, I know for me, like the number one question. And I think that's true for most women getting divorced. So like a lot of you may say, I want to stay in my current house. Okay, totally get it. One of the things you got to think about is, can you afford to stay in your current house? Like, do you live in some McMansion situation that y'all bought a little bit of a stretch? And do you really want to stay there with the maintenance and the upkeep? And like, look, the laws in each state can be super complicated at this point of like whether he has to help support you, who has to pay what bills or whatever. So I'm like zooming out of the legal, right? Listen to the lawyers in your state. But what I mean is, like, practically speaking, do you really want to keep paying for this thing? Is that what you want to do? Okay, let's just assume that you do for a second. You're going to need to have some sort of a plan that even when you're filing for divorce, like it doesn't involve you leaving. And y'all, that gets sticky because what if he won't go? That's a tough question. And it was certainly the case in my own divorce. He wasn't going to go. And the guys out there read a lot of stuff on the internet about like, don't leave the house. No matter what, don't leave the house. Not the worst advice ever. People always will say to us something like, I don't want to be in trouble for abandonment. At least in Texas, I mean, that's not really a thing. We don't use that. We don't talk about abandonment. But staying in your house, you just need to, in this all but done plan, be thinking like, is he going to leave? Will he go? Will it be peaceable? If he won't do it, he won't leave and you won't leave, then you're both going to be there. And like, is that safe for everybody? It may not be that comfy. It may not be your favorite experience, but you may need a court to intervene and say who gets to stay and who has to go. And oftentimes that follows primary custody. Like the person who stays in the house is the one who has the kids more often than not. That's one way that courts may make that decision. Who can afford it? Was there separate property if you live in Texas that went into it? Like it can be a whole thing. Okay. But let's say you don't want to stay where you are. Maybe you're renting an apartment, okay, and you want to get a new place. It's really important before you ever go, you know where you might be able to go, right? You've got to do the research. Like, what does it cost to rent a 3-bedroom apartment in your city? Have you thought about that lately? Probably more than you think, to be honest. Is that even a choice? You've got 3 or 4 kids. You can't move into a 2-bedroom, right? So like, you need to do the research as soon as you can when you're starting to get prepared and planned, and even have some target houses or apartments ready to go in case you need to go present it to a judge quick. Sometimes court hearings come as soon as you file. You may find yourself in court in a few days, a week. So you don't want to wait until you file to start figuring it out. You go in front of a judge like, oh, well, I'll get an apartment. And they're like, where? Which one? They basically want you to know like apartment 1A at the Sunset Valley Apartments or whatever, okay? So you want to get as specific as you can before you ever file so you're not chasing your tail once you get started. And like, look, you may not love the options. You may prefer your current setup to what you may have to do, and that's just the deal. And that's one of the things you have to consider when deciding whether to get divorced in the first place. But better to do that on the front end than after you've already filed and are just chasing your tail like a little puppy dog, round and round and round. If you're preparing to get divorced, likely you're going to think about first, like, okay, where are we going to live? And look, even when I said it, I said we. Right? You're going to think we meaning you and your kids. All right. I would imagine you're thinking that you and the kids are going to live in a place. But here's the thing. I really need to implore you not to take for granted that the kids are going with you. That's not necessarily how this is going to go. And one of the things to consider before you ever file is how custody will play out and how that will be impacted by every decision you may make. One of those being living arrangements. Like where you decide to live and how you decide to go about it might determine whether or not you get the kids. For instance, let's say, and this is not advisable, you want to go move pretty much in any situation. You want to go move in with your new boyfriend. that you've got. All right, that's why you're getting divorced. This loser, you're done with them. You got a new boyfriend and you want to go move in with him. He's got this big old house and he's this rich guy, and you and the kids are just going to go move in with him. No, you're not. Like, really, more than likely, a judge in the middle of the divorce is not going to okay you leaving and bringing the kids and moving them out of your homestead where you live house over the three of y'all or whatever going and living with your new boyfriend. All right? Now, let's, Hannah, I ain't going to have no boyfriend. Not me. Okay, that's not you. But what you may think is, okay, me and the kids are going to leave. We're going to go get an apartment and he can stay here with this big old expensive house. But maybe the apartment you're looking at is outside of the school district because y'all live, wherever. The apartments are all down in the middle of the city and you live out in the suburbs in this house. So if you were to take the kids and move them to somewhere outside of the school district, you would be giving him a really good argument of why the judge should order the kids to go back home so they can stay in their same school. And don't you know, he's already there. You've already signed the lease. He might as well have those kids primarily. And oh, by the way, Judge, would you mind giving me some child support? I mean, that's not really why I'm here. I don't really care that much about that. But could you have her give me some child support? You didn't think it would go like that, did you? It really, really, really might. I've seen it happen to more women than I would like to think about. And more than anything, it happened to them because they didn't plan it out. They didn't game theory it, think all the potential, consequences through, because they were sort of big britches and thought, I'm the mom, I'm going to have the kids. And they're like, why would he want the kids? I'm the primary parent. I've always done everything for them. Well, I could think of a few green reasons why he may want the kids. In addition to the fact that he may just really love them and be a really great dad and a good dude. Not all men are terrible, okay? So you need to plan that out and think that out, especially when you're making living arrangement decisions in your all but done plan so that you don't do things that are opposed to the outcomes you're trying to achieve. When crafting your all but done plan, you may arrive at a conclusion that's not real convenient. You may say, Hannah, I don't have the money to get some new place to go. I don't have the money to pay for this all on my own. I don't have good, nice people parents that I can just go move in their extra back house. And I hear you. And probably you're in the toughest spot that I'm aware of. Add in any kind of violence situation. And I wish I had a magic pill, magic bullet answer for you, but I don't. It's time to get creative and to figure it out. We're women and we can do hard things. You can do hard things. You know what's not going to work? I just can't. Oh, nice for you to say, you lawyer girl from Austin, Texas. I don't have that kind of money. I can't do that. The world's not fair. You don't know what happened to me. You don't know what he did to me. Look, it's not that I don't have compassion or empathy or sympathy for you, but you can't trade in sympathy. You can't trade in my compassion. You can't pay your rent in my, oh, I'm so sorry. To do that, you just got to get down to brass tacks and make it happen. Look, that's easier for some of us than others. Lots of us were born privileged. Lots of us were born into certain situations, right? Okay, so I'm not trying to say it's easy, and yet it's your lot. You can sit around and be sorry about it and be a victim about it and stay stuck in a crappy situation, or you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps and figure it out. Can you do Uber? Can you get a different job? Can you siphon off some money? Can you get a loan? Can you get it out of a 401k? Can you go back to school first so that you get a better job so you have more money? You know why I was able to do this and make a new life? I mean, it wasn't my plan when I started back to law school. It really wasn't. I wanted to get a different career, a better career. I was a recruiter beforehand, and I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I'm just like the sort of person who makes something out of nothing. That's what I do in every situation. And so I was a recruiter, but it wasn't stable. It wasn't steady. And I didn't love it with my whole heart. So when I went back to law school, what I was doing was improving my future, right? I didn't just get turned into a lawyer. I had to work for it and figure it out. I kept my day job. I commuted an hour and 20 minutes to school. I juggled school and law school so that at the end of the day, I would have a better income for me and my family. And that's a good thing because after 1 year in, I needed a better income for me and my kids right now because that's when I got divorced. That's what sort of woke me up. And for me, following my intuition and following my gut to create that better future made it possible for me to get divorced. So I'll ask you the question, what's that still small voice inside telling you? I believe that where we have a desire and we have a will, there is a way. And you may not be used to making those kinds of decisions. He may be telling you what to do this whole time. You may have not exercised much free will for years. And you're never going to let that happen to you again. I call my power back from all time and all places. I am my own. And it starts now.